Chapter 19, Section 3, Popular Culture, Main Idea. Mainstream Americans, as well as the nation's subcultures, embraced new forms of entertainment during the 1950s. Why it matters now. Television and rock and roll, integral parts of the nation's culture today, emerged during the post-war era. Terms and names. So you need to define the following terms that are on your study guide. This is One American Story. H.B. Barnum, a 14-year-old saxophone player who later became a music producer, was one of many teenagers in the 1950s drawn to a new style of music that featured hard-driving African-American rhythm and blues. Barnum described the first time he saw the rhythm and blues performer Richard Wayne Penniman, better known as Little Richard. He just burst onto the stage from anywhere, and you wouldn't be able to hear anything but the roar of the audience. He'd be on stage, he'd be off the stage, he'd be jumping and yelling, screaming, whipping the audience on. Then when he finally did hit the piano and just went into it, nobody can do that as fast as Richard. It just took everybody by surprise. The rise and fall of popular music. Born poor, Little Richard wore flashy clothes on stage, curled his hair, and shouted the lyrics to his song. As one writer observed, in 2 minutes he used as much energy as an all-night party. The music he and others performed became a prominent part of the American culture in the 1950s, a time when both mainstream America and those outside it embraced new and innovative forms of entertainment. Little Richard helped change rhythm and blues into a new musical genre, rock and roll. New era of the mass media. Compared with other mass media. So this is your first term, mass media. Means of communication that reach large audiences. Television developed with lightning speed. First widely available in 1948. Television had reached 9% of American homes by 1950 and 55% of homes by 1954. Okay, question number 1. By 1960, what percentage of homes owned TV? In 1960, almost 90%, 45 million of American homes had television sets. Clearly, TV was the entertainment and information marvel of the post-war years. The rise of television. Early television sets were small boxes with round screens. Programming was meager and broadcasts were in black and white. The first regular broadcasts, beginning in 1949, reached only a small part of the East Coast and offered only 2 hours of programs per week. Post-World War II, innovations such as microwave relays, which could transmit television waves over long distances, sent the television industry soaring by 1956. Okay, this is your next term. Federal Communication Commission, FCC, the government agency that regulates and licenses television, telephone, telegraph, radio, and other communication industries, had allowed 500 new stations to broadcast. This period of rapid expansion was the golden age of television and entertainment in the 1950s often meant comedy. Milton Berle attracted huge audiences with the Texas Star Theater. And Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz's early situation comedy, I Love Lucy, began its enormously popular run in 1951. At the same time, veteran radio broadcaster Edward R. Murrow introduced 2 innovations: on-the-scene news reporting with his program See It Now, and interviewing with person to person. And they have a bunch of other shows you can look at. Okay, let's go to the next page. More shows. Okay, let's go to stereotypes and gunslingers. Not everyone was thrilled with television, though. Critics objected to its effects on children and its stereotypical portrayals of women and minorities. Women did, in fact, appear in stereotypical roles, such as the ideal mothers of Father Knows Best, and The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet. Male characters outnumbered women characters 3-1. African Americans and Latinos rarely appeared in television programs at all. So if we look at number 2, television in the 1950s portrayed an idealized white America. Okay. Lucille Ball had to fight to have a real-life husband. Cuban-born Desi Arnaz cast in a popular TV series. Television in the 1950s portrayed an idealized white America. For the most part, it omitted references to poverty, diversity, contemporary conflicts, such as the struggle of civil rights movement against racial discrimination. Instead, it glorified the historical conflicts of the Western frontier in hit shows such as Gunsmoke. Although the mass media found a wide audience for their portrayals of mostly white popular culture, dissenting voices rang out throughout the 1950s. The messages of the beat movement in literature and of rock and roll in music clashed with a tidy suburban view of life and set the stage for the counterculture that would burst forth in the late 1960s. 3. Why do you think different subcultures emerged in the 1950s? Okay, so on this one, kind of goes back to 2. Television in the 1950s portrayed an idealized white America, so it didn't represent everybody. It just represented what looked like the perfect mother who stays at home, the father who goes off to work. There's no problems. There's no people that are portrayed of color. So that would be number 3. Number 4 is, who was Jack Kerouac and what did he write? Okay, so we'll go down a little bit. It says, Jack Kerouac. The only person for me are the mad ones, the ones who are mad to live, mad to talk, mad to be saved, the ones who never yawn or take a commonplace thing, but burn, burn, burn like fabulous yellow Roman candles exploding like spiders across the stars. So Jack was an author who published a book in 1956 called On the Road. Okay, so let's look at number 5. What did many adults believe rock and roll would lead to? In the early and mid-1950s, Richard Penniman, Chuck Berry, Bill Haley, and his Comets, and especially Elvis Presley, brought rock and roll to a frantic pitch of popularity among the newly affluent teens who bought their records. The music's heavy rhythm, simple melodies, and lyrics featuring love, cars, and the problems of being young captivated teenagers across the country. Chuck Berry is as much known for his duck walk as for his electric guitar playing heard on its hit records, including Johnny B. Good and Maybelline. So let's go down a little bit to answer our question. Okay, I skipped it. Sorry, guys. Okay. For number 5, what did many adults believe rock and roll would lead to? So you're going to look at page 656. Last paragraph. They believed that the new music would lead to teenage delinquency and immorality. Okay. Number 6. What type of music closed the racial gap in America and how? African American music had inspired the birth of rock and roll, and many of the genre's greatest performers were like Barry and Pennyman, African Americans. In other musical genres, singers Nat King Cole and Lena Horne, singers and actors Harry Belafonte, and many others paved the way for minority representation in the entertainment field. Musicians like Miles Davis and so on played a style of music characterized by the use of improvisation called jazz. Okay, so jazz music and how. These part of it was that the music paved the way for minorities to be represented in the entertainment field. So before that, they were only having white people, but now they're having other people that are in entertainment. Okay, so that is 19.3 U.S. history, and next you'll need to work on 19.4. Okay, bye guys.